So yeah, if you just want to go around the circle, we'll go that way, introducing yourselves individually.
I'm Danielle Warwick.
I'm Dominic Blakey.
And I'm Alex Bell.
And your theatre company is?
Every Cloud.
Every Cloud. Okay. We'll start with the theatre company then. So, where did the name for the company come from? I'm guessing it's a play on Every Cloud Has a Silver Lining.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
It took days to come up with. We literally spent hours and hours and hours, as I think other groups have, just trying to write down any words we could and seeing what worked.
Mm-hmm.
We had Breaking Point at one point, and then apparently that sounded like a crazy company, so we weren't allowed that anymore.
Yeah.
So
I think it was because every time we came up with a name, we were like, okay, just look on the bright side, look on the bright side. And then we're like, well, you know, every cloud has a silver lining.
we're all very happy-go-lucky people. So in the end, it actually worked out like, you know, just every cloud.
Reflective.
Even
of
if
the
you're in the shit,
personality.
it's fine.
Wow, okay. Good. And what's your show called? Sense and...
It's
Self and sensitivity.
That's the one, which is a play on...
Sense and sensibility.
That's the one. So it's self and sensitivity.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
Which was also took quite a while to think up the name.
We're not very good on deciding on names apparently as a company.
And is the show sort of based on?
Yeah,
I'm getting them confused now.
what we've done is
The original.
Yeah, we've taken the original and then we've narrowed it down to 3 main characters.
Okay.
And we've rewritten it. And the first half will be in classical, and then second half will be contemporary.
Okay.
Yep.
Interesting. Do you want to explain a bit more?
Basically, we wanted to make period dramas accessible to modern day audiences, because period dramas at the moment are quite popular. You've got, you know, Downton Abbey, Upstairs, Downstairs, all that kind of stuff, so that area is quite popular. So we thought we'd go along those lines when we made our show. And we didn't want to lose the period drama aspect, the Regency period, you know, the ball gowns and the suits and the stiff upper lip, so to speak. But then we wanted to bring in younger people to the theatre, and we thought what we'd do is transpose the characters, take who they are, essentially, their essence, their being, and what would they be like if they were then in the modern day. So the language is adapted, so it's pretty similar, but it's slightly different, so there's not so many shall nots and stuff. And the costumes are now modern day, and the set around you becomes modern day.
The thing is, we all wanted to do like either Shakespeare or like classical text, and I was saying that none of my friends would ever be interested in coming to see that. Like we have, well, we're actors, like, but they wouldn't necessarily want to see that. So we thought, well, if we do it in a modern way, then it'll be more relatable and understandable, and then they might have more of an interest to come see it.
And when we first started thinking about it, way back, was it Sally originally? It was either Sally or Nick said, Sally or Chris even said, take what you're best in, and we found we've been quite good with text most of the time, so we thought we'd do a text-based piece, and then it led on to doing period drama.
Okay, so the first half then is very classical
Regency
style.
As it is.
And
so
then
to speak.
sort of the interval's almost like this time warp thing that brings you into a modern day version of the same show?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So the story continues. It's
Yeah,
not like it changed.
yeah. But you've...
Yeah.
Well, because the first act, luckily, the way it works, the first act is set in Barton, which is where they all are, so it's all Regency in Barton, and then they make the journey to London, and the second act starts when they're in London, and at that point we have the change of time period as well, so it works quite nicely the way the play's worked out, that with the change of setting also comes the change of time.
Yeah.
Well, that was just clever script writing of thoughts, really.
and what sort of conventions have you had to sort of come up with then to kind of portray that properly?
We've got a theme that of like first impressions, and we wanted to highlight how in Jane Austen's time, like first impressions were very important, and you know, like the use of fans and things like that, but how it's still relatable today. So we've basically used a lot of physical behaviour, language, and like lighting, stage lighting, and things like that to subconsciously make the audience think of like first impressions and how first impressions change and stuff like that.
Okay,
Yeah.
so a bit of Darren Brown's.
Yeah,
We hope so.
It's difficult because first impressions is all in your subconscious.
Yeah.
So it's very hard to make an audience aware without shoving it in their face, so to speak.
Yeah.
And it's stuff like yellow colours are annoying, which not like I didn't realise, but if you go to some takeaway places, they've got a yellow wall,
Right.
or they've got yellow furniture,
Mhm.
and that, without realising it makes people not want to stay there for very long. So in a fast food place, you'll go and eat your food and you'll leave.
Right.
And that's the idea behind it. And like blue's a very trustworthy colour and that kind of stuff. But it all has lots of hidden meanings. But one of our research shows that there's a lot of variance. Some people say you can make up your first impression of someone within the first 100th of a second or 300th of a second. Other people say it takes 10 seconds. But even so, that's a very short amount of time to judge someone. And then it's very hard to break that. And what we're interested in seeing is creating a first impression of a character and then seeing if that changes. Or if you knew all along, you know.
Okay.
Misconceptions, judging people from the off and then seeing how it changes.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, which is also, thinking about it, that's also what Austin does quite a lot, because we were going to do Pride and Prejudice, but none of us...
It was originally called First Impressions.
Was it really?
Yeah,
Right,
it
yeah.
is.
I didn't know that.
But then neither me or Dom is a Darcy. Well, according to Danny anyway.
Sorry. You have to be told that I'm handsome. I'm sorry.
So
Not Hampton,
we went for
apparently.
that. But Austin, Danny knows more than me, but in all of them, don't they change as they go on? The
Yeah, characters that you think aren't always what she writes them to be at first. So then obviously your judgment of them changes by the end of this novel.
Yeah. Okay. So, with regard to influences then, for the piece, because there's probably certain either companies, writers, whatever, that have probably, hopefully, influenced what you've done in terms of companies that that inspire you and stuff like that. What sort of things have you brought to the piece in that respect?
There was the, what's it play? Rosencrantz?
Well, Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are dead.
Yeah, and the idea that, because obviously you got Hamlet, and then he wrote the play, I can't remember the play right now, Tom Stoppard, but Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are dead, which focuses on them.
Yeah.
But they weren't the main characters, but there's a play about them, and the same as this. We're effectively main characters in the story, but it's a lot smaller.
Right.
The main story, like everyone remembers in the film, for example, Emma Thompson, who plays Eleanor, who's not in our adaptation.
And Hugh Grant, who's Edward, like, they're two of the main characters and yet they're not in our...
They're not in our adaptation.
Right.
And it's stuff like that, and like we don't have any of the family. We have a few extras, like play supporting roles to help carry the story. But we've literally just boiled everything away, this 20-man cast, and just gone for 3. And it's kind of, we were influenced by that.
I think in all honesty we've seen like quite a few adaptations of Shakespeare and found that really interesting. Oh, look how that can be developed into a contemporary performance. But we've never seen classical texts, and how Chris has highlighted with many of the problems we've had. He was like, maybe this is why. But we thought it would be really interesting to do. Why not adapt a classical text, because no one else that we can think of has done it.
And sort of, what you say that you've taken a lot of the characters out.
Yeah.
And kind of stripped it down to its bare bones in
Yeah.
that respect. What's kind of guided a lot of those decisions? Has it been...
We wanted to focus it more on the relationship between the 3 characters, our 3 characters, because a lot of the original book is all about how people are like in society, and there's loads and loads of different sub-stories and stuff, so we thought we'd focus just solely on ours and try and build up the relationships there.
And in all honesty, we're a 3-man group.
Yeah.
Well, 3-person group. So unless we wanted to multi-role, there was only us 3, and we've got extras in as well, obviously. So that it's not just us 3 for an hour.
Okay.
But I think one of the main things that drove us to this, we wanted to do something different, but we wanted to work with text, and it's very hard to find a way of being almost unique.
Yeah.
And as far as we know, like you said, we don't know anyone else who's done this. We can't find anyone who's taken Sense and Sensibility or even taken an Austen and done it half classical, half modern,
Yeah.
stripping away so many characters.
And there's also very little that have just done it contemporary. Like, not even doing it half and half, just contemporary. There's very little that I've heard about that.
Okay. And what difficulties, not necessarily difficulties, but do you foresee there being any problems with the audience going, oh, hang on, this is now contemporary from being classic, or have you put in certain mechanisms to kind of ease the audience into that at all, or is it literally just interval?
It is
now
literally
modern day?
just interval.
Boom.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we have obviously in like our blurbs and stuff, we're saying how it's contemporary and things like that.
Yeah.
How we're making it contemporary for the audience. But no, the audience have no idea.
We have a narrator character, actually, I forgot to mention, and that kind of follows the story along.
Uh-huh.
So you have a little bit of time with the narrator to start getting used to the language, because the hardest thing is the language changing.
Yeah.
Right.
Because that's something we found out. Even if you contemporise the language, the rhythm is still different.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, if you say, you shall hear everything, in Regency period you say, you shall hear everything.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas nowadays the emphasis on the you, so it's you shall hear everything.
Right.
The shall's not emphasised, but it's written contemporary. But if you don't say it the right way, it still comes across as Regency. And
Right.
that's been a major issue, because you spend one half with your head, okay, I'm in this world,
Mm-hmm.
and then you're trying to get out of it, even as an actor, and you find you're talking in the wrong rhythm sometimes.
Yeah.
And that's a major struggle we've had to work on.
And
Yeah.
how have you kind of overcome that as actors, first and foremost? How have you kind of dealt with that? What have you kind of
Like,
done? I
in
mean, you
some-
mentioned the narrator that you've got for the audience, but...
In some instances, we've rewritten, because we wrote the whole script in the original language, and then for the second act, we've just rewritten it contemporary. So we've literally taken the meaning of a line and written it. So instead of saying you shall not, it's like totally different. It's like, no, you can't. You
Right.
can't. So it's stupid. But the thing is, luckily, we still have RP voices. So it shouldn't be. It's not like going from an RP text and then I'm going to be speaking really Northern from Leeds.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully, it should still make sense.
We have some leeway with them being a bit posher, so we can get away with some stuff.
Yeah. Okay. And you mentioned as well that you'd had some difficulties with the whole classical to modern thing in the rehearsal process itself. What sort of difficulties have you had?
I think it is what you were saying. It's just trying to get out the mindset of it, because it's all like physicality and vocally. It's just so different,
Mm-hmm.
and so it's difficult. Like Chris sat us down and showed an example of the two different ways and said that it's really similar,
Mm-hmm.
but it's different at the same time. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mainly the text has been the problem.
Mm-hmm.
The
Okay.
text has taken up a lot of our time.
Yeah.
Because originally we had planned to do it. If you notice, you see a contemporary Shakespeare, it has all the original language, but just in a contemporary setting.
Yeah.
And we had planned to do Austen language, but in a contemporary setting.
Mm-hmm.
But it didn't work.
But then once we got, you don't know if it'll work or not until you do it.
Yeah.
And then we did it, and it didn't work because the language just jars. It goes against the action.
Yeah.
And that was only last week, so we had to rewrite everything.
So it was like, okay,
Intense.
not going to work. Change it.
Yeah.
We had everything there. We had all the structure. We had the words. We now just had to make the language contemporary as
Mhm.
well.
And then also you have the little problems like, now we need a whole new set and a
Mhm.
whole new props and
Yeah.
a costume.
Quick turnaround.
Yeah. Really quick, 15 minutes.
Yeah.
But even little things like when you're doing the period stuff, bowing. It's like making sure you bow the right way
Mm-hmm.
because bowing is so important.
Yeah.
Back then, how long you bow for, where you make the eye contact, and it's trying to bear in mind what's proper in those days. Because again, we all live in the modern day, so we haven't lived back then. So it's doing the research and finding out how physically you would act around a woman or even around another man.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I think one of the other problems was devising, because obviously we're not script writers, we're actors, and we've had to write a lot of the script ourselves, even the original language. And like create scenes that weren't in the novel. That's why it's like it's a whole different twist on the three characters because we take them in a different direction.
Yeah.
And my character doesn't speak in the novel.
He doesn't speak, pretty much. He does in the film.
He does in the film, but in the novel he just sits there.
She talks about what he says, but she doesn't say his lines.
Right.
So we had to write everything, and I think that was quite a big barrier as well.
Yeah.
But one that we've overcome.
Good. And because obviously the whole show's for your dissertation, just wanted to ask, what are the boxes you're having to tick? So what are sort of your aims for the piece? Because obviously you talked about first impressions and things like that, but what's sort of the aim, which I'm sure you're supposed to have?
Well, it is basically to make such a classical text contemporary and accessible to a modern day audience.
Okay.
That is one of our main aims.
Yeah, that's it. That's one of our driving points.
Yeah, and through the concept of first impressions and things like that, we will hopefully achieve that aim.
Well, and one of the other things is to make people aware of first impressions.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the aims, so to make people consider, almost next time they meet someone, how quickly they're judging them.
Yeah.
I mean, have you already decided what they're like before they've even spoken?
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's that sort of thing. So, it's very much, we want to make it accessible, we want to make people aware of the social psychology of it all, I guess.
Yeah.
With subtlety.
With subtlety, which is very hard.
A lot of subtlety.
Yeah. And once the show's done, what are the plans for the company? Are you going to part ways, or are you going to...
We're staying together. We're staying in Northampton. Hopefully, we'd like to tour this, or work of a similar kind, whether it would be Shakespeare or classical.
Mm-hmm.
We like the idea of it. But yeah, so probably we're going home for the summer and then we're coming back and hopefully working together for a year or so and see how it goes.
Fab. Anything set in stone, or just
No,
just plans at the moment?
Not yet, just plans.
Just plans. Okay.
Yes, we've got a lot of ideas for new productions,
Mm-hmm.
which
It's
we're
always good.
very excited about doing.
And with regard to the show itself, how, when, and where can we see it?
Well, we're hoping it'll be Monday at 10 a.m.
On the 29th.
on the 29th, Thursday at 7:30,
Which is the second.
and
Friday the 3rd.
Friday the 3rd at 5:30 p.m.
Cool.
In Underground 1 and 2 at Brondon Gate.
Fab. And how much tickets?
Tickets are £5. Oh, concessions are
$3.50.
£3.50.
Fab.
I think you get a deal if you buy more than one show. Screw it, no.
Well,
£5 for us and then $3.50.
Wouldn't quote him on that. Cool. Okay. Well, best of luck with the show.
Thanks.
I think I'm coming to see yours.
Yes.
Super.
It might be Tom or it might be Nathan, but I think I'm coming to see your one. Vaguely recall.
So good reviews are headed our way.
It should be. Yeah, so best of luck with the show.
Thank you.
I should be there. And best of luck tonight as well for the VIP event. I'll be there as well.
Will you know?
I will. I had a VIP ticket.
And distinguished guests. When you come.
Yeah, thanks. Cool, well, best of luck and thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.